Before diving into part 2, it's important to recall where we left off. Emily, on her 30th birthday, is surprised by her husband Mark not with jewelry or flowers, but with something far more intimate and unexpected. For men, each representing a different type of love she once longed to experience more deeply. These were not romantic prospects, but emotional mirrors. Each man helped her reconnect with a missing piece of her own heart. Jesse made her feel seen. Luke made her feel desired. Ben brought back joy. Daniel offered healing from grief. By the end of the evening, Emily was emotionally overwhelmed, but spiritually awakened. Mark's gift wasn't about rekindling their love directly. It was about giving her the space and experience to remember who she really was. The cliffhanger. A text from one of the men. I know it was only supposed to be one night, but I think I felt something. Tell me if you felt it too. It opens the door to a deeper tension. Was this birthday surprise just emotional role play, or did something real happen between Emily and one of these men? Beginning of part 2. The emotional fallout. Part 2 opens the morning after. The energy is different, quieter, heavier. Emily sits alone with her thoughts. Her husband is nearby, but the atmosphere is uncertain. This isn't a story about betrayal, but about what happens when emotional boundaries get blurred. Even with good intentions, the message on her phone stays unread for hours. Emily isn't just avoiding the man who sent it, she's avoiding what it says about her, because something inside her did shift during the evening. The surprise wasn't just therapeutic, it was deeply personal, even intimate. She didn't cross any physical lines, but emotional ones. She may have crossed several. Love, confusion, and quiet crisis. The brilliance of part 2 is that it doesn't fall into cheap drama or forbidden temptation. Instead, it explores something far more relatable and real: the slow unraveling of identity inside a long-term marriage, and the terrifying possibility that your heart may want more than you've dared to ask for. Emily reflects on each man not as a romantic possibility, but as a representation of what she's been missing. Jesse gave her depth and patience. Luke gave her attention and beauty. Ben gave her permission to laugh. Daniel gave her closure from a past love that never left her. And suddenly, she begins to see her marriage with new eyes, not with anger, but with clarity. Mark's role becomes more noble and more painfully beautiful. Surprise in part 2 is how Mark evolves as a character. We learn that his motivation wasn't just guilt or romantic creativity. He knew their marriage had faded into quiet coexistence, and he was losing her even if she hadn't said the words yet. Instead of holding her back with obligation, he gave her a gift that was both risky and selfless. I thought if I couldn't be everything you needed, maybe I could help you feel it again, even for a night. That's not weakness. That's mature, heartbreaking love. Mark doesn't act like a martyr or beg for her to stay. He simply holds space for her to figure out who she really is and whether their love still fits. That's rare. That it's powerful. The text message, who sent it? Eventually, Emily opens the message and we discover it came from Luke, the guitar player who sang Under the Stars. Luke wasn't overly flirtatious. He was quiet, sensitive, and emotionally intense. The night he spent with Emily was full of unspoken chemistry. The music he played wasn't just beautiful, it made her feel alive again. His message is simple, but bold. Tell me if you felt it too. And she did. She did feel it. But what does that mean? Emily doesn't respond, not right away, because she knows the message is bigger than just Luke. It's a test of her marriage, her values, and her emotional truth. The turning point. Emily's conversation with Luke later in the week. Emily agrees to meet Luke at a quiet local cafe. The scene is emotional, but not romantic. Luke surprises her. He's not asking her to run away or to confess love. He's emotionally honest, but respectful. I'm not here to steal your heart, he says gently. I just want you to know it's okay to feel something real, even if it's inconvenient. What Luke offers her isn't temptation, it's permission. Permission to listen to her heart. Permission to be honest. Permission to grow, even if it hurts. Luke is not the enemy of her marriage. It's a symbol of possibility of the life and love she might have if she chooses not to settle. But even Luke knows. If you still love your husband, go home and fight for that love. But do it as you, not the woman you've been pretending to be. Emily's letter, returning to the center. This leads to perhaps the most emotional scene in part 2. Emily doesn't run away. She doesn't spiral into chaos. Instead, just something quietly brave. She writes a letter not to any of the men from her birthday, but to Mark. It's not dramatic or poetic. It's deeply human. Thank you for loving me enough to let me find myself again, while watching me fall in love with different versions of love, and still standing by me, still waiting for me to choose you, not because I have to, but because I want to. This letter is not about declaring that everything is fixed. It's not a fairy tale ending. It's a commitment to try again, openly, and with a new kind of love. The kind of love that includes change. The final message, a marriage reimagined. When Mark reads the letter, he doesn't cry or make grand declarations. Instead, he does something more meaningful. He walks into the kitchen and starts baking cupcakes just like Ben did. He plays a song in the background one Luke sang. He brings out the roses Jesse brought home. And when Emily steps into the room, he opens his arms not to start over, but to continue. With new eyes and open hearts. Introduction. A woman on the edge of 30 and a marriage on pause. Melly Carter is not unlike many women in their late 20s, approaching a milestone birthday that's meant to be a celebration, but instead brings a quiet ache. She lives a stable, successful life in a cozy suburb outside Seattle. It's Washington, peaceful home, a respectful husband. It's far in a respectable job as a third-grade teacher. But under the surface, Emily is unfulfilled. There's no dramatic crisis. In her marriage to Mark, no loud arguments or betrayal, just silence, distance. Familiarity that once felt like comfort now feels like emotional disconnection. The spark that once made her feel desired, alive, and truly seen has dimmed over time. This emotional gap between her and Mark isn't rare. It reflects what many long-term speaks suffer after years of routine. While nothing is technically wrong, something important is missing: passion, presence, and emotional intimacy. As her 30th birthday nears, Emily expects the usual: a small, impersonal gesture, a polite gift, and the awkward reminder that another year has passed without real change. But instead, Mark surprises her. He tells her to be ready by 7 p.m. that evening. No explanations, just a suit jacket and a mysterious smile. This is the first shift in the story. Something is different. The big surprise for strangers. 4. Emotions. When Emily opens the door, what she sees outside is completely unexpected. Standing in the driveway are 4 men, none of whom she knows, each holding something symbolic: a bouquet of white roses, a guitar, a tray of cupcakes, and a letter. She's understandably confused and overwhelmed. Why 4 men? What is this? Mark steps beside her and gently says, "You told me once that there were 4 kinds of love. You wished you had felt more deeply in your life. I remembered." This line is powerful. It shows that Mark has been listening. Even through the distance, even in their quiet disconnection, he has carried her emotional truths with him. This moment reframes Mark's character. He's not absent, out of malice, but perhaps out of emotional fear or inexperience. And now, he's trying to offer her something no material gift could match: an experience of love in its deepest forms. He explains that each of the 4 men represents a different type of love Emily once longed for. They're here to offer her a taste of something meaningful, something healing for one night only. Mark isn't trying to be the hero of this story. He's stepping aside to help her reconnect with herself. That in itself is an act of profound love. The first man, Jesse, the feeling of being deeply seen and adored. Jesse is introduced first to calm, emotionally grounded man in his late 30s with a warm, calming presence. He brings white roses, often symbols of pure love, respect, and remembrance. He tells Emily, "I'm here to remind you what it feels like to be adored for no reason at all." This love is unconditional admiration, the feeling of being valued not for performance, not for appearance, but simply for existing. Jessie spends time asking Emily about her past, her dreams, her fears, the kind of conversation that hasn't existed in her marriage for a long time. He listens deeply, giving her the sense of being cherished in a way she didn't realize she craved so much. The emotional impact of Jessie is subtle but huge. It's not about romance, it's about being seen. The second man, Luke. The feeling of romantic inspiration and desire. Luke, the second man, holds an old guitar. He's a quiet, soulful figure who doesn't speak much, but when he plays, he fills the air with emotion. He sings under a maple tree, choosing a song Emily had heard years ago in a movie that moved her to tears. "I'm here to remind you what it feels like to be serenaded, to be the muse." This love is romantic idealism, the kind of poetic, artistic longing that often disappears after marriage and routine. It's about being inspired and being inspiring. It's about feeling wanted, not just for your body or your duties, but for your essence. Luke's presence awakens something in Emily she hadn't felt in years, the soft heat of being desired creatively and emotionally. He doesn't flirt. He doesn't pressure. He simply plays. And that's enough. The third man, Ben, the feeling of joyful, playful companionship. Ben is the lighthearted one, the kind of guy who wears an apron and doesn't mind getting flour on his face. He brings cupcakes of sweet, simple joy. It's cool to remind you that joy doesn't need a reason. This type of love is playfulness, friendship, laughter, and often overlooked part of relationships that becomes buried under bills, chores, and exhaustion. Through baking and silly jokes, Ben brings out Emily's inner child. They laugh, make a mess. She tells him things she hasn't said in years, not deep secrets, but lighthearted pieces of herself she'd forgotten. This moment represents freedom, emotional ease, a kind of love that feels like home and happiness. The fourth man, Daniel, the love that was lost but never forgotten. Daniel is different. He doesn't smile much. He's quiet, serious, and holds out a letter. It's not from him, he explains. It's from your first love, the one you never got to say goodbye to. This is where the emotional intensity peaks. The letter is written in Mark's handwriting, but it speaks in the voice of Emily's high school sweetheart, who tragically died in a car crash before they could explore their future together. Reading the letter brings tears, pain, closure, and healing. This type of love is grief, the love that lingers, the one that never got a proper ending. Daniel is there not to give her something new, but to help her let go of something old. Grief love isn't about romantic connection. It's about understanding how your past shapes your present, and how letting go can be a final act of love. 2. The emotional impact. Emily's heart awakens after spending time with these for Manich, offering her a taste of a different kind of love. Miley isn't just touched. She's transformed. She feels things she hasn't felt in years. Not because these men are better than her husband, but because they reminded her of who she used to be, before routine and responsibility dulled her senses. Each of these interactions has helped her reclaim a piece of herself. Jessie brought back her sense of worth. Luke rekindled her emotional desire. Ben reminded her of joy. Daniel gave her the permission to grieve and heal. When the night ends, she stands outside with Mark under the stars. She asks, "Why did you do all this?" And Mark, voice cracking, says, "Because I didn't know how to love you the way you deserved. But I remembered what you told me once about wanting to feel every kind of love. If I couldn't give it all to you, I thought, maybe I could help you find it." This is the most emotional line in part 1. Mark isn't saying goodbye. He's not stepping away from the marriage. Instead, he's admitting that he wasn't enough on his own, but that his love was deep enough to let her feel more. This shows a unique and rare kind of love, selfless love.